But have you ever noticed yourself saying no automatically to life? Or have you ever been caught saying no to someone before they even get their question out? Or maybe my favorite, which is, yeah, I'd love to do that. I'd just love to do that, where our body language doesn't match our words. Have you ever had that happen? Yeah. I think a lot of people have developed a habit of saying no first. And part of it, I think, is a protection mechanism that gives me time to pause. Whoa, I'm not saying yes yet. I need to pause and think about this for a minute. You can talk me into it, maybe. I need to protect myself, right? It's a protection mechanism. Maybe we're afraid of being vulnerable. No, I can't do that. Let's go dancing. I can't dance. No. Well, it's okay. They got dance lessons. I'll look like an idiot. No, I'm not going. Not going. Let's go learn to play pickleball. I'll look foolish. Maybe they'll laugh at me. We say no to life. We say no to experiencing more. Why do we do that? Why do we do that? If you saw the newsletter yesterday morning, I used a quote from Richard Branson. And basically, he says, if life offers you an amazing and wonderful opportunity, say yes, even though you don't know how to do it. And then go figure it out. Go figure it out. Can you imagine living like that? Trusting the universe so much, having so much faith that you knew every opportunity that came your way was something for you, for your good, either in this moment or as a stepping stone to the bigger good that you've been creating all of your life. Can you imagine having that much faith? Sounds like a nice way to live. But many of us have experienced not so good things on our journey of life, haven't we? Bad things, maybe. But yet, when we can look back, the older I get, what's one of the benefits, I guess, of getting old, is that you can look back and begin to see these things. You can see how those experiences that were maybe not so pleasant really were necessary in the steps to where you are today, leading to the ultimate good. Everything that's happened in my life to this point has prepared me for ministry. When I was in my early 20s, I got fired from 2 secretarial jobs in a very short time. Devastating. In my 20s, living in Dallas, Texas, way away from home and family. And family did not have the resources to be able to add financial support to me. I knew I had to take care of myself. I was responsible. But what that did for me was to have me set some bigger goals, bigger visions for myself to get out of the secretarial pool of my upbringing. When I was in high school and got out of high school, our opportunities as young women at that point in my hometown was secretary, nurse. I tried nursing. I just didn't like it because I felt like a secretarial role. Should have been a clue. So I decided when I got to Dallas, I'd become a secretary. I stank at being a secretary. It was horrible. I just wasn't any good at it. And so the universe gave me a kick in the pants, fired me not once, but twice. And I had to move on. I had to move on. I set bigger goals. I expanded my consciousness of what was possible for me, for my life. I started saying yes. I don't know how, but I'll figure it out. I started saying yes. I think one of the big things that stops us from saying yes is our fear. It's the fear of the unknown, or maybe it's even the fear of the known. Been there, done that, not going to do that, never going on another date. Had a bad experience, not going to do it. Some of us close ourselves off to that. We fear looking foolish. We fear the media reports. We listen to media reports, and now we have this idea about what all the rest of the world is like. You know what the best cure for that is? Travel. Have your own experience. Go see what's really happening. The media is just someone's opinion, isn't it? Yeah, have our own experience. And we have that big fear of failing and being vulnerable. Being vulnerable. And that's what I want to talk about today. Saying yes to life, like Eddie's saying yes to life. The science of mind is a teaching of living affirmatively. Would you agree? Yeah, it teaches us to say yes to life. It teaches us to live in a more affirmative way. It also teaches us that our words have power. We learned this last month as we talked about being complaint free and what complaining does to our bodies and our sense of everything and the law of attraction and all of that. And our words do have power. They have the power to limit us or advance us as well. And when we're saying no, we're shutting ourselves off to the universe. We're saying, pass me by, go to the next one. I'm not ready. Nope, not ready. Not here. Pass me by. That's what our no is saying. It's pushing back against the flow and the rhythm of life through us. So as I thought about this and worked on this talk this week, it's like, okay, great. What does it take to become a yes person? If somebody came and sat down in my office and said, Reverend Jill, what's it going to take me to become a yes person? I would say the first thing it's going to take is courage. It's going to take courage to step over those fears, step through them, step around them. And it's going to take a willingness to be vulnerable. It's going to take a willingness to be vulnerable. Now, vulnerability was something that was really foreign to me until I was in ministerial school. And in ministerial school, there was a very deep meditation that we did, a guided meditation that took us in to really find the fears. Many of us think on the surface we don't have any fears, but when we can really get into that deeper state of our subconscious, we can begin to reveal and see what those are. What I found was a series of locked doors, vault combinations, brick walls, fences, you name it, that I had erected in my lifetime to protect me from everything, particularly from being vulnerable. In my household, being vulnerable just wasn't cool. Wasn't how I was raised. That's why I didn't know anything about it, is because that wasn't something that we talked about or a way of living for us. In my household, you were told things like, hold your head up high, walk in like you own the place. You were told things like, don't air any dirty laundry, tell tales on what's happening in your family, outside of the family to the neighbors. They don't need to know. We're a private bunch. So we were not taught to be vulnerable. And this went on even into the early 70s and 80s when the first motivational speakers and coaches began to come along. Think about those folks, Zig Ziglar and Tony Robbins and those guys. You know, be strong, be powerful, show only your best side, be invincible. Don't let them see you cry. And this commercial is really indicative of what we've been taught.
I think there are three nevers to being a winning coach. Never let the press pick your starting quarterback. Never take a last place team lightly. And really, no matter what the score, never let them see you sweat.
That's what new Dry Idea aerosol is all about. Maximum control. It keeps you drier than the leading aerosol.
Everyone feels pressure. Winners don't let it show.
Dry Idea. Never let them see you sweat.
1987, we've been conditioned. Don't let them see you sweat, right? Don't show them you're vulnerable. Brene Brown says vulnerability is uncertainty, risk, and emotional exposure. Sounds like fun, doesn't it? Yeah, let's have some of that. But it's true. It resonates at a truth level with us, doesn't it? The idea of being vulnerable is uncertainty. What's going to happen if I open up and let go of my defenses? What's going to happen if I take a risk and jump out there on the dance floor and try to learn the whatever, electric slide or whatever those dances are? What if I open my heart to emotional exposure? What if they laugh at me? What if they ridicule me? Can I take it? Brene says the difficulty in being vulnerable is that it's the first thing that she looks for in the other. It's the first thing we look for in each other. Are you open-hearted? Can I get to know you? Can we connect? Are you vulnerable? But it's the last thing I'm going to show you. In you, it's courageous and daring. In me, it's weakness. It's weakness. I think that's probably the most powerful quote in her material, because that speaks to the disconnect that we have, because we know life is a mirror, right? And if we're looking for someone's vulnerability and connecting with them, but we're unwilling to show it, we're never going to see it, are we? Because life is a mirror and it's going to reflect back to us who we are. I think that's a powerful quote. And I think that's why her work has struck such a powerful chord in society, is talking about this hidden shame that we carry, this vulnerability that we're loath to express. And she's opened that up and talked about it publicly. And we've read books and had classes and been educated about what that is. And it's becoming okay. It's becoming okay. And I think we're also in the midst of a spiritual evolution. I've been feeling and sensing this for about 10 or 15 years, that something's shifting. You know, it feels like the plates are moving. And I'm starting to see it on the periphery and seeing more and more of it. And I think that's why Brene's voice could be heard now and not 20 years ago, right? She wouldn't have been welcome 20, 30 years ago. But now we're ready. When the students are ready, the teacher appears. You heard that before? Yeah. And so the last 2.5 years have been shift, change, massive evolution. We've seen or read about at least this migration, this, what do you call it, resignation, of the great resignation, from the front lines all the way to the C-suites, people that are leaving their employment environments. They're making changes in their lives, places that don't serve them any longer, they're moving out of. They're working from home, they're working remotely, they're relocating. We've seen these beginning to happen a little bit before the pandemic, but the pandemic escalated everything. It escalated everything. And in our home office tour, we had one employee, one staff member in the home office. The rest of the whole building was empty. And there was one person in the archives. They're all working remotely. We saw evidence of this. They're all working remotely. And as I mentioned, I traveled through the airports, Phoenix Sky Harbor and Denver International, both very large, busy airports. And I love to people watch. So I got to do a lot of people watching because there's a lot of people around in both of those places. And it was really interesting for me. I was delighted to see young people, late teens and 20s, wearing affirmative t-shirts. Some that said grateful, gratitude, be kind, peace, love only. This wasn't a group of kids. This was random people throughout both airports that I would just happen to see. Now, maybe I'm focused on that, but I would just happen to see this. And it opened my heart every time I did, to think this is the periphery of this evolution that we're experiencing right now, that we're starting to see right now. And that was wonderful. And then, of course, I saw a Karen on the train. The train was full. The doors were closing. If you've been in Denver, that's exactly what they say. The doors are closing. And the doors almost closed, and someone on one of the cars put their briefcase in the door, and all the doors opened on the train. Everybody jostles. Train's packed, right? And this lady huffs, and then the doors are closing, and they get almost closed. Somebody else does it again. This happened about 3 times. Well, she goes off on this young man who's worked at the airport, rides the train 7 times a day, right? He's leaning against the inside jamb of the door, and she just jumps all over him. And he's got his earbuds in. He's just kind of looking at her. He can't really hear her. And a little lady in front of me, she was so kind. She turned and she says, "Ma'am, he's not blocking the door. Somebody else on one of the other cars is." And she was so kind and so logical and so sweet. The energy dropped. The energy dropped. When we don't engage that vibration, it can no longer exist. There was nobody that chimed in with her and said, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, you're doing this." There was nobody that chimed in with her and said, "You're absolutely right. Say more." Nothing. Zero. Dissipated. Just dissipated. It was fascinating from our complaint free study to witness that energy, that vibration to dissipate the way that it did. So I saw both ends of the spectrum, chaos and change. Chaos and change. And Deepak Chopra that says all great changes are preceded by chaos. All great changes are preceded by chaos. And the science of mind can be a leader in that change. Not in the chaos, but in the change, in the idea of creating a complaint free world, in the idea of our teaching, in the idea of living affirmatively, in the idea of saying yes to life, yes to goodness, yes to unity. Gandhi's peaceful protests in the early 1900s are a great example to us of being peaceful, practical, being non-resistant, to let that in, not meet that energy with resistance, but to meet that energy with peace and with kindness. And he taught us that we need to become the change we wish to see in the world rather than pushing others to change. Do we know that yet? Do we practice it yet? Not always, do we? Son, wouldn't it be life would be so easy if they'd just changed their behavior, wouldn't it? My goodness, it would go so much better if everybody would behave the way I wanted them to. But it doesn't work that way, does it? It doesn't work that way. This idea of first becoming that which we seek to experience is in alignment with our science of mind teaching. The practices that we have of affirmative prayer, manifestation, visioning. That's one of the questions in visioning is, what must I become? What must I become? If I want a loving relationship, I must be loving, right? I've got to energetically match that. If I want financial abundance, I have to be financial abundance. I have to match that energy. Otherwise, it can't find me. Think about going on vacation, going on a trip. You are so excited. You're thinking about it. You're packing. You're thinking about who you're going to see, where you're going to go, what you're going to do, what you're going to wear, what you need to take. You're putting it all together. Oh, I got to call Uber for an early ride in the morning. You're making that call, making that reservation. You got your boarding passes in hand. You're ready to go. You're there, right? You're excited. You're enthusiastic. You see it. You feel it. That is the level of embodiment that we need to have about our dreams and desires. That energy, that vibration, that belief in knowing that it's going to happen, that is where we need to be to manifest those intentions that we set in January. Do you remember what your intention was? If you don't, I invite you to open the box later and pull yours out. Look for your handwriting and remember what it is and see if you've got that level of excitement, enthusiasm, and vision, belief about its manifestation. Are you prepared for its arrival? Yeah. That's what Holmes warns us about. Don't just wish it's going to happen. No, it's going to happen. No, it's going to happen. We must believe and embody it so clearly that we can erase any no's. We just simply erase any no's and we say yes to our vision, our dream, our desire, whether that's perfect health, financial relationship, career, a deeper spiritual walk with the divine. Say yes. But sometimes our feelings of unworthiness can stop us, can it? That I really do want the financial prosperity in order to create a better life for myself and my family, to have a little more space, to whatever it might be. But deep down, behind all those gates and walls and fences, I don't believe I'm worthy of it. And that can stop us because that's that subconscious part of us that runs our lives 95% of the time. And that's the part of us that's saying no, 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 no. Even though we're consciously saying yes, 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 no, really, yes, that part continues 95% of the time to say no. What does the universe hear? What does the universe hear? Ernest Holmes, our founder and the author of The Science of Mind, he talks about self-worth, and he says, to be humble does not mean that we must become doormats. True humility is simply a recognition of our own worth, even as we respect and seek to understand the worthiness of others. Wholeness, oneness. That's what he's really talking about there, is knowing our own wholeness in the divine, our oneness with spirit and all and everything else. Brene says vulnerability means we're showing up and being seen. We're willing to take the microphone, take the stand. We're willing to be seen. We're willing to put ourselves out there. We're willing to jump into life. It's hard to do when we're too worried about what the people will think or say about us. So self-worth, self-love, self-esteem, Science of Mind's a perfect foundation for building those up within ourselves and each other. We support each other in that too, don't we? You are loved, loved, and lovable, each and every one of you. I see your wholeness. I see your value. I see your worth. I see who you are. And that's what we teach here. We are valued, each and every one of us. So we build that faith in ourselves and each other and in the divine. We build that faith to where we can say yes to the universe. We can say yes to those opportunities because we know that within every opportunity comes everything necessary for its manifestation. So we can confidently say yes. You can always change your mind later, right? But saying yes gets us into that rhythm and flow of life. The science of mind teaches us that when we say yes, that life says yes to us. Science of Mind is 84 years old. It's a 550-page book. Sounds kind of dated and dusty. But I can assure you, I can attest, it is true. It will change your life. And I've seen it change my life, and I've seen it change the lives of thousands. And after the Archives tour, seeing what we've done as a movement, as a teaching for so many years, how many lives we've touched. This is powerful stuff. And the world is hungry for it now. The world is hungry for it now. Our mission here at Scottsdale CSL is to provide spiritual tools for personal and community transformation. And that's what we do on Sundays. That's what we do on our Tuesday book study. It's what we do in our workshops and our events. It's what we do in community. It's what we do in our homes and in our families. It's what we take into the world. We take who we are into the world, and we are science of mind, aren't we? We are this study. We are these practices. So I'm going to invite you today to join me in just saying a big, bold yes to life. Yes. And then to support us in doing that, we're going to look at our practicing the principles. Now, practicing the principles is the way that we take this teaching into our lives and practice it during the week. And on Monday mornings, I send out an email called Mindful Monday. Within it is a summary of the talk and these practices with details on what to do. And you can subscribe to that if you haven't already in the lobby. There's a sign up sheet on the table. Also, folks at home, you can send me an email and I will get you on the list for it as well. So the first one is just say no. Not really, but recognize when you do say no. So pay attention this week to when you're saying no. Now, like you may have noticed in the complaint free study, it may be easier to notice when other people are saying no than when you are. And you may hear that first, but that's a good first step, right? It's tuning our ears to hearing it, and then we'll begin to hear our own no's when we say them. What are we saying no to, and what are we saying no about? And really paying attention to that. Is it my ego, my fear of being vulnerable? Am I protecting myself from something? Is this my old protection mechanism, or is it something I just don't want to do? And that's fine. If it's something you don't want to do, ask yourself, why don't I want to do that? Go all metaphysical and go, ooh, this opportunity has come to me. Why is it that I don't want to accept it? What is in this? What is the message in this for me? Right? We can explore and go deeper with it and ask ourselves those questions. And then ask yourself what you believe about it, why you're saying no, why you're not just simply being curious and asking questions rather than saying no. That's the second step. And then remember Richard's question and just say, or Richard's quote rather, and just say yes. Go figure out how to do it. Number 2 is just say yes. I'm going to challenge you this week to take 1 hour and say yes to everything. 1 hour. And it can't be while you're at home alone. It can't be while you're sleeping. It has to be when you're around people. Now, I know many of us have spent a lot of time alone. So go shopping. Go to the grocery, do something, work or family or whatever you're doing, be with people for an hour and set the intention to say yes to everything. Now, notice if you're feeling vulnerable or afraid right now of doing that. Notice when you actually put it in practice if you feel afraid in any way. Set your boundaries beforehand about what, can't be dangerous, stuff like that. But just 1 hour. And notice if there's fear or unwillingness to play, and notice if you feel vulnerable when you do it. Okay? And number 3, that's for me. In our complaint free, we learned some new phrasing, and one was, of course. Now, many times when something negative happens in our life, we go, well, of course, that's just my luck. Have you ever said that? Of course, that's just my luck. And rather than that perspective, when something good happens, it's of course. Of course I won the lottery. Of course my car is in great shape. Of course they gave me my ticket for free. Of course. Right? Because I'm in alignment with my good. Of course. Easy, of course. So this is similar in that vein of that's for me. It is said that Reverend Frank Vogt of the Mile High Church used to be a little jealous of people that had the good he was after. And if he was looking for a relationship and he saw people having a relationship, he would just, do this kind of thing. If he was seeking more financial abundance in his life and he saw someone in a very expensive car or something, he would go, what a waste. Who needs that kind of a car? Who needs that many cars? Who needs a house that big? I want abundance in my life, but I'm pushing it away over here, right? So he changed all of that around. And every time he saw something that was a representation, a mental equivalent of what he was looking for, he said, "That's for me." Not that one that I want that particular one, but as a mental equivalent of the good that anyone can have, everyone can have. And he would say, "That's for me." Yeah, that's a good example of what I'm looking for. So if you're looking for financial abundance for a new home, go drive through Paradise Valley and look at the mansions in Paradise Valley and notice what comes up in you. Is it, ooh, that's for me, that's a beautiful home? Or is it, how ostentatious and crazy is that? Who needs a house that big? Who needs 9 cars in their garage? Oh my goodness. Notice what's happening within you. That is that 95% that's down there that's causing the blockage for us, okay? So this week, practice that's for me. After you go through 1 and 2, that's for me. Notice if the area of resistance is the same area that you're trying to create in. Like Fred's abundance, I want it and I'm pushing it away. Notice if it's the same area for you also. And challenge yourself to begin to say, "That's for me" instead. Okay? Can you say that now? That's for me. There you go. Saying yes to life is a powerful spiritual practice. It's a powerful spiritual practice when we begin to open up to yes. Of course, that's for me. So I invite you to do those practices this week, and I invite you to step into your own big, bold yes to life. So let's anchor this in prayer this morning. Would you join me? Yes to the divine. Yes, yes, yes. As we welcome the power and the presence into our hearts and our minds right here and right now, knowing that it's never absent, that it is always right here, present, in, through, and as us, as expressions of that divine one life, one substance, one infinite wisdom and intelligence. We are that which it is. We are infused with that substance and spirit. We are love. And so as I know this unity and wholeness that we are, I speak my word for and about each of us today, knowing, claiming, and accepting our yes to life. Knowing, claiming, and accepting our willingness to open our hearts, open our lives, open our minds to saying yes to life, yes to opportunity, yes to things we don't know how to do yet. Up until now, open to learning, open to growing, open to expanding our consciousness for the receptacle that is large enough to hold that which we seek. We each have the power to do that for ourselves right here, right now, in this moment, simply by saying, "Yes, I accept. Yes, I receive." I know for anyone that has anything on their heart today, as they raise that into their consciousness and lift it into the consciousness of this prayer, that we each individually and collectively as community hold them in our loving embrace in consciousness, knowing that whatever needs to be healed is healed, what needs to be revealed is revealed with such great clarity and understanding. I know that financial abundance and wealth and prosperity flow to and through each of us, this community. And I know that creative expression, we are filled with divine ideas, for we live in the field of infinite possibilities at all times. And we have access to this. And that whatever we need flows to and through us now. And how grateful I am for this knowing. Grateful to know that this is how prayer and the law works in our lives. Grateful to know that I can say yes, and the universe hears this. And so in this moment, I say yes on behalf of each of us to receiving the good that we seek, to receiving the expansion that we are in the middle of right here, right now, into knowing our own wholeness. And so I gratefully and joyfully release this into the action and activity of law, knowing that it is done. And we affirm this together by saying, and so it is.